Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Hello, everybody, again. Welcome to episode 106 of the Near Memo. David, Mike, and Greg talking about local, search, social, and commerce. And this is a mostly Google Bard discussion today, but Mike will lead us off with an esoteric, well, it's not so esoteric, but it sounds esoteric. The FTC's revision of the negative option rule, which in practical terms is about subscriptions, unsubscribing in dark patterns. So Mike, take it away, and then David and I are going to follow up with Bard.
Incredible that negative option rule has nothing to do with Silicon Valley Bank. That was the first thing that I thought of when Mike said it this morning.
So just to clarify, negative option plans refer to any, quote, situation where the customer is presumed to continue to accept an agreement or offer unless they affirmatively decline it. So this applies to all subscriptions that just keep going unless you get rid of them. This is cable TV, your phone system, your cell phone, your magazine subscriptions, all of those that are default on and require you to affirmatively decline it, which
to take action to
take action to get out of it, right? So this is on top of this past week. They also, in the case of Fortnite, originally they gave Fortnite a $275 million fine for violating children's privacy, and then they gave them another fine this last week of $245 million to make refunds for dark patterns. So the FTC has been this is a form of a dark pattern where you click a button, you subscribe, and then you're into it for life, and you have to really struggle to get out of it. I tried to get out of my landline phone service a couple months ago, and I went online, couldn't cancel there, called. They said you can't cancel online. I mean, I spent an hour and a half of it irate with the manager on the line, finally canceling my phone service or my internet associated with my phone service. It was very difficult. This is the kind of thing they're proposing to put an end to put real constraints around where they have to, one, remind you that it's coming up. Two, they have to affirmatively get you to opt in. And three, they can't even make offers to you of alternatives if you say you don't want to hear offers. They've got to get permission to give you offers. Now, the fact that this is a rule-making situation is good news. It's more work for the FTC to create a rule. But once they do, it gives them much more teeth and the ability to fine. And the fine I heard today on the radio was $50,000 per day per incident. So if you have a lot of customers trying to cancel it, like on a given day, it's 100 customers, it would be 50,000 times 100 penalty for every day that it occurs if you haven't followed these rules. So it's putting teeth in a rule that first came out in the early 70s, where hopefully you'll be able to opt out of subscriptions and be alerted to the fact that you can opt out prior to it getting re-upped.
So two quick comments. That's the model for data collection online, right? It's opt out pretty much everywhere with the exception of Apple. And, dark patterns is a broad category of things which shows up most commonly for people in cookie acceptance. There's a big button that's right, highlighted, okay. And then there's a kind of less highlighted option, which is manage settings or something like that, So there's
something that sounds way more
time consuming,
okay.
and it is, in fact, in most cases, not always. I'm starting to see more reject all buttons, but this is the mentality. This is the psychology of publishers and marketers on the internet. It's draw you in with some teaser rate or some attractive offer, show you fine print that says after date X, it's going to go back to the normal rate, whatever that is, $50 a month, $10 a month, whatever. And then they rely kind of disingenuously on you to remember the date or to calendar the date, and then to do all this stuff to interrupt the subscription. And people now have so many subscriptions. I'm guilty of this. I have all these streaming subscriptions, all these news publisher subscriptions. I have no idea.
Hold it. Share those logins with me so we can get some double value out of them.
Sure, it's true. I'll give you my Netflix passwords. No, but I have no idea. I've started to calendar things, and I have no idea when things are supposed to renew. Now, to Apple's credit, they do tell you They do tell you.
And it's a real easy single place you can go to
Yes.
deal with them all.
Yes,
right?
you can do it on your iPhone, and you can opt out of subscriptions on Apple. I'm going to do more subscriptions through Apple to the extent that that's even possible, because as you say, it's concentrated, it's easy to turn them off. Whereas
I'm still deciding when to turn off my Paramount subscription. I'm watching the newest season of Picard, which has been a turkey of a show. But I thought, well, maybe once I get through Picard, I will then cancel Paramount. Totally off topic here. Question I have is, does this affect SaaS subscriptions?
It sounds
B2B,
like it will.
or is it B2C only?
Well, that's an open question. It's probably going to be B2C. I'm going to guess it should equally affect SaaS subscriptions.
Well, here's where I would disagree, Greg. There's a lot of automated subscriptions for API access and things that I don't think any CTO or engineer wants to have to opt in to renew those.
Well, no. I think you could.
Entire business would be in jeopardy.
So the compromise position, which a lot of companies, to their credit, do, is your billing is coming up, another month is coming up, so you do get notifications that you're going to be billed for another month of access.
It seems like that's the happy medium, even for a standard B2C subscription, is need to require whatever it is, 48, 72 hours notice, and then the ability to opt out of rebilling online and not have to call someone. Yeah.
I would be okay
that
with,
seems like exactly. Yeah.
Right, because you have to assume that a lot of people will want to continue the subscription, so you don't want to put a burden on people to have to resubscribe or whatever. So I think there is just a notice and simple opt-out process is probably the happy medium. I mean, we were talking before we started recording that in many news publisher contexts, you can sign up very easily, very quickly online, but then you have to call a call center and talk to somebody to discontinue a subscription so that they can try and retain you. And in some cases, that's actually not a bad option. I did that with the New York Times, because I started getting a higher bill. I've been a Times subscriber for 25 years or something. I start getting a higher bill, and it's like I don't want to pay this much for this, and they cut it in half for me. So that was good. That was a retention offer.
So the requirements are going to be an annual reminder to consumers enrolled in negative option programs involving anything other than physical goods. So it's not monthly, it's annual. And the new requirements, people have to opt in to hear additional offers, and it has to be a simple online opt out. So it seems sensible. We'll see.
Well, what's interesting? One more word about dark patterns before we go on and talk about Bard. Often when you're on Amazon and they give you an option to make a one-time purchase versus a subscription, often the default is the subscription. I've noticed this, which is a dark pattern, because if you're on your phone, you're not paying close attention to what's going on, basically then you've signed up for a subscription. Now, it's pretty easy to discontinue that on Amazon, but that's an example of another example of a dark pattern where they're trying to manipulate you to doing something that you don't necessarily want to do.
I would add one sort of footnote to this, that Fortnite, who just received this additional $245 million, is the company that wanted to have an alternative app store and accused Apple of all sorts of misdeeds in this arena. And this is the company that we want to trust with our children and our apps, right? Fortnite. So go figure.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.